What's going on YouTube? Snakebite here, bringing you another gameplay commentary, and today I'm going to be talking about basically just advice on how to become a professional player heading into Halo Infinite. It's a question I receive a lot, and I just feel like this video, I could honestly talk forever on the topic. I'm going to release another part to this where I go way more into gameplay specific and things people can do to try to improve as a player. But overall, for this video, it's just a video talking about more of like the reasoning behind wanting to be a pro player and your attitude and your outlook on it more than anything. So if you just want tips on how to become a better player, don't worry, we'll have a video out like that soon. But I think this video is equally as important to the up and coming player who wants to go pro, or maybe the amateur player who hasn't become a pro player yet. I think it's a very, very important video, and it meant a lot to me making it because you'll hear it when I talk about it, but I share a lot of my personal insight into things that have happened throughout my career. Obviously, you only have 10 minutes to talk about it, but I feel like it was a really cool video to talk about because it's something that meant a lot to me. I hope someone can watch the video and find it useful. Hopefully it really hits home for someone and they can find it useful heading into Halo Infinite and maybe just change their outlook and help them achieve their goals. So that's gonna be it for me. For the intro portion of the video, I hope you all enjoy it. Like I said, I hope someone finds it useful. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll catch you on the next one. Two pieces of advice to becoming a Halo Pro and Halo Infinite. I cannot say that 10 times fast, I'll be honest. These are going to be very cliche answers, but I think that they're important to me, and I think that they're going to be really good to talk about, and hopefully people in the comment section will kind of get where I'm coming from, and hopefully someone is going to find it useful. Maybe it'll hit home and we could change someone's perspective. The first piece of advice that I can give is just to make sure, really evaluate that you are actually giving it your all. I watched a video, and I'll link it down in the description. I watched a video from, I believe it was Thorn, excuse me if I pronounced the name wrong, but I think it was Thorn, and it was after 2015 heading into 2016 that I saw this video, and the title of the video, I haven't watched it in a long time, so I'm really sorry. I'll link it, but I'm sorry if I say anything wrong. But it was basically, I think the title of the video is I Just Want to Win, or something like that. And basically what he talks about in this video is how pro players, across all games, obviously not talking about Halo specifically, but every pro player will always say after a tournament, like, oh man, I just want to win so bad. And most will always say they want to win the most, and understandably so, because you're competing, right? But what he talks about is those that say it and those that actually mean it. And it's something that for me really hit home. Going from 2015, and we were getting loads of second place finishes, and I would always say it. Like after we would lose, I would always say how badly I wanted to win. And it was certainly true. I'm a super competitive person. It's not as if I was going to these tournaments to get second place. I wasn't happy with it. But what he talks about in the video is, you saying that you want to win and how badly you want to win, but do you actually put forth the effort to becoming that champion and becoming the best player and becoming the best team? And the answer for me from 2015 was no, I really didn't. I just kind of, I'm hard on myself with it because MCC had its own issues from back when this was happening. But it really hit home for me where I was just kind of like, no, I definitely didn't. Like when I thought about how many tournaments EG beat us in, those guys were playing more matchmaking than I was, playing 8s more than I was. I was definitely one of those people who like scrim and get off, right? And it worked for me. I played at a really high level, but did that mean I wanted to win more than anyone? Like, not necessarily, right? So the reason why I'm saying this as a piece of advice is because there's a lot of amateur players that will say they want to become a professional player, or maybe an up-and-comer who sees the HCS, or we're talking about Halo specifically, so sees the HCS heading into Halo Infinite, and you see $1 million prize pools, and it's really appealing to I think, go with almost what the normal feels like, which is saying you want to then become a professional player. And I feel like this video that I'm talking about of, you know, saying it and actually believing it and actually doing it being two separate things really applies to not just the person who wants to win, but also the person that wants to become a professional player. So if you want to become a pro, you know, the first thing that you need to do is evaluate, you know, are you actually putting forth the effort to become the player that you want to be, the player that you envision winning, the player that you envision, you know, reaching that pro status? Are you putting the effort to becoming that player? If the answer is no, the good news is there's a delay on Halo Infinite, and you have plenty of time to, you know, work on your craft. And obviously, a lot of this advice I think is going to apply to Halo Infinite specifically. I don't think there's an insane amount people can do right now, but I think that, you know, if you can evaluate that now, heading into a new game, it's something that is going to set you up for success, because you're going to go into it with this new mindset. It was like a door opening for me when I thought of it this way. I definitely didn't have a good balance. I started stressing myself out a lot, like after 2016, because I was constantly working all the time. You know, I just felt like there was no off switch, right? But that's a different video to talk about when it comes to actually finding a balance. But the first piece of advice, you know, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Evaluate the work you're putting in and how bad you actually want to achieve your goal. The second piece of advice is just follow your own path with it. You know, I think that esports now and with social media, it's so easy to get lost in someone else's story. I think people talk about this a lot now, but in social media, it's so easy to get lost in the success and the fame and, you know, all these crazy things that other people are achieving, and you forget that every pro player, every star, you know, that ends up becoming insanely talented at the game, or, you know, you could apply it to anything, but they go through their own process and they have their own path to how they became the person they are today, or the person they are that day that you're obviously reading this success story. For myself specifically, you know, I wasn't someone who saw instant success. I became a pro. I did and I didn't, right? I went to my first event when I was 11. I became a pro player when I was 13. I started making a little bit of money because I started placing in the top 8 in 2010 in Halo 3 at the age of 15. The first long-lasting teammate I had was Royal 2 when I was 17, and then the first time we ever had an actual long-lasting team, like more than like a year, was when I was 20. And I think that it's really easy for someone, you know, let's say a new up-and-comer jumping into the scene now, it's really easy for an up-and-comer to see our success now, or, you know, I'll reference my team's success right now, and kind of get lost in it and be like, man, I can't get teammates, I can't get a duo, or it's just, you know, insert kind of comment here of what it feels like we have. And what doesn't get the success always gets talked about. What doesn't is the years and years and years of trying to find what we now achieved and what we currently have, right? So I think this is actually probably one of the biggest pieces of advice that you can give to someone who wants to become a pro player. Just don't stress yourself out with feeling like you should be achieving something at a certain time. Everyone has their own path, and overall, like, you just can't predict when things are going to happen. You can work really hard and try to make it happen, but you can't predict when it's going to happen. You know, you could be 25 years old and like just be an absolute god at Halo Infinite and become one of the top pro players. And honestly, like with Eco, I don't know how old Eco is, but I always reference him when this conversation comes up. But Eco is someone who went from, you know, placing in top 8, and I think he was above, I think he certainly was above 23, but he was placing above the top 8 or in the top 8 in H2A. And then Halo 5 came out, and all of a sudden he's, you know, on a top 3 team for 3 years straight, right? So just don't limit yourself. Don't compare your career to someone else's, and just focus on having your own path and your own story to tell.